Dead Space is about a mechanic on a spaceship, and the spaceship is broken and he has to fix the spaceship. Seriously, that's what you do in Dead Space. You fix shit. You put everything back where it goes. There it is, all working again. Oh no mate, something else is fucked, go and fix it. Oh, also there are scary monsters and you have to shoot their limbs off. All of their limbs. Actually, the limb shooting system is the most innovative part of the combat. It's a nice break from the monotony of headshots in every other game. Where's the main bit of a human? The brain. Bang. Headshot. Dead. Home in time for tea. Not with Dead Space. You shoot the necromorphs in the head and they're like, nah mate. You got this mining laser thing that you can rotate to a horizontal and vertical orientation. And you're like, why? Then you realise that horizontal is for legs and vertical is for arms. It's macabre stuff. Overall, the game is absolutely excellent. The whole series is terrific. Gamers will tell you that Dead Space 3 is bad, but they're wrong. It's an effective co-op shit. Boo! Haha! That's like the game. I scared you like in the game.
Get the room. Oh yeah. You won? Pico! What are you doing? Practicing your skateboarding moves?
You gotta be kidding me. You call that skateboarding?
Kazuya! But Yuan told me he's an awesome skateboarder with a strict training program, right?
Now you won. Remember how easily I tripped you up yesterday? You can't do anything, let alone skateboard. Face it, you'll never succeed. Not in 100 million years.
I will too succeed!
Guitar Man is a truly excellent rhythm action game available on PS2 and PSP, which manages the admirable feat of making your actions in-game actually feel like you're playing some sort of instrument with its precise and careful mechanics. Stages take the form of battles between Guitar Man and, for example, a giant disco bee, in which you attack using the Guitaro's unusual but intuitive system, and dodge or defend using a more traditional hit buttons in sequence form of gameplay that nonetheless manages to accurately recreate the sensation of being assaulted by enemies from all sides. It's a very impressive fusion of aesthetics and mechanics, but ultimately, Guitar Man is about adolescence. I mean, it's also about having super weird space guitar duels with a host of bizarre characters, but mostly it's about adolescence. You play as U1, an awkward teen who can't talk to girls and has no self-esteem to speak of, who turns into something approaching socially competent when he plays his Guitaru and literally transforms into a taller, more outlandishly dressed being called Guitaru Man. He plays his music to defend his home, to save his planet, and ultimately to get the girl, without even needing to transform. When he becomes his sexual ideal, you even get the sound of borderline orgasmic ladies announcing him and celebrating his victories. It's actually thanks to Guitar Man that I gained the confidence that led to me losing my virginity. Not really, that was bullshit. Fucking hell. Losing my virginity necessitated the absolute opposite of playing a video game. A commonly held sentiment among the more, let's say, core gaming community is the idea that gameplay takes precedence over graphics and sound, aesthetics. So basically the premise is that as long as the game mechanics are good, tight, whatever, then the aesthetics are irrelevant. Unfortunately, this is raving Jack Nicholson from The Shining level madness, because the aesthetics are the most important thing in any visual medium. Excellence in video gaming aesthetics isn't necessarily predicated on perfect artistry. After all, there are highly acclaimed oil painting looking video games out there that are boring shit. It's about cohesiveness, where your game's feel matches the aesthetics that it presents you with. A good example for me is Apogee's Monster Bash, welcome back to Video World Monster Bash, a game that kind of looks like the programmers did the art. I mean, it's a little bit clumsy and a little bit intricate at the same time, but so is the game. The corny aesthetics fit the kind of corny gameplay. If they don't mesh, everything kind of falls apart. If Monster Bash had the same gameplay but looked, well, better, you'd be like, what the fuck is this shit? The stiff graphics fit the stiff gameplay. When I say stiff, I don't mean bad, I mean stiff. Castlevania is stiff, but you'd be a clown to call it bad. So I mean, I don't know about you, but that suggests to me that aesthetics are actually the single most important element of a video game. Think about, say, Adventure on Atari 2600. I mean, that's Atari 2600, so it looks like that, but it fits. Imagine if Adventure looked like Mankind Divided, it'd be awful. Your game's aesthetics have to match your game's feel. When a reviewer says something has good gameplay, they just mean that they like the game. That's all it means. A game, a video game, is not its mechanics, it's a package. And if that package fails hard on any of its individual elements, the whole experience starts to collapse. It all has to fit together. And that's why graphics are more important than gameplay. Oh, please. That's not really honest. It's fair enough perspective, really.
You're a fucking dick!
The Turtles lend themselves to video games like, well, Heroes to Half-Shells, so it's no surprise that everyone seems to have at least one Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles game that they remember with great fondness. For me it's Turtles in Time on Super NES, for others it's the original arcade game, and for some it's the NES game so hard that I actually screamed racist abuse at Shredder. That's actually true, ask Ken. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about any of those games. I want to discuss the games based on the 2003 Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles series. The first is simply named Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, and is an extremely good-looking side-scrolling beat-em-up with mild platforming elements. You can pick a turtle from Leonardo, Michelangelo, Raphael, Donatello and Aloysius Hardcocks, and take on 4 levels apiece, followed by a final showdown with the Shredder when the game is complete. You can find crystals hidden throughout the levels that encourage you to replay, but some of them are a bit stupid in their hiding places and basically force about 4 replays of one level, and all they unlock is a password for the GameCube game anyway, which is shit, so who cares. The sequel, Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles Battle Nexus, expands heavily on the platforming and adds some fairly rudimentary stealth, with a focus on exploration. The gems from the last game have become extremely prominent as a number of them are now required to qualify and move on to the next stages, which forces replays as the other turtles in order to use their unique abilities. Normally I would hate that, but for some reason the presentation of Battle Nexus is so enjoyable that I don't mind digging through every little nook and cranny. Just don't play it in hard mode because you'll have to play each level at least 4 times, which is asking a bit too much if you ask me. The final game in the series is Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles Mutant Nightmare, and is something of a half-assed combination of the 2 games, with the most egregious Nintendo DS launch window holy shit we have touch controls implementation of the second screen this side of Castlevania, making you draw those stupid fucking symbols after hard boss fights. Yes, all the fun of turning a crank, that's exactly what the TMHT's target audience of young adolescents want to do. And it's really hard too. What makes these developers think that teenagers are adept at pulling off hard cranks? Yes, that's the joke this segment's going out on. I overslept, but I'm just in time for my train. Fucking chimp. The Internet Archive has recently added around 10,000 Amiga games to its archive. Obviously this is completely legal and thus acceptable to promote. Any road, 10,000 is a bit too many, so here are 5 Amiga games that give me a stalk on. And 1. Arabian Knight is a surprisingly obscure platformer with a heavy emphasis on exploration. It's actually quite difficult to recommend speaking objectively, but this is Video World, and this is one of those games that quite a lot of people would scoff at and which, by my reckoning, has a lot to offer. You bop around atmospheric stages, murdering stuff with a sword, and searching every room extensively for cash and items that you need to progress. Yeah, this is the kind of game where the secrets aren't really optional. You need to find them just to move on, because they hold crucial progress items. And see, I know that doesn't sound good, but if you know me, and if you do, what up? You'll know that I like games with a focus on hidden secret areas and items, and this is one of them. Feels good, it's fun to play, it looks great. What more do you want? 3 wishes. Two. Parasol Stars is the sequel to Rainbow Islands, and was inexplicably never released in arcades. The basic idea is to pick up enemies with your parasol and chuck them at each other, but the deceptively simple gameplay masks quite a lot of complexity, as per usual for the Bubble Bobble series. Throwing enemies and bubbles in certain spots reveals hidden items, and it's those items that can push you through to the final boss, and then the secret final boss, and then the other secret final boss for a full clear. The game's best version is probably the PC Engine port, but the Amiga version is the one I want to highlight because it's such a strong game in the Amiga library. Also, my friend Leeann would kill me if I didn't because it's her favourite game of all time. 3? Yes! Robocard. James Pond is a series that I imagine fills Americans with confusion, and of course I've talked about James Pond 3 on Video World before, but Robocard is a much more traditional beast, a colourful and bouncy adventure in which a fish policeman in a mecha suit stretches all over the shop like the yoga bloke off of Street Fighter. Loads and loads of levels, it's beloved and fondly remembered in the UK for a reason. Get it played. 4. The Chaos Engine is precision heavy, extremely difficult and unforgiving, and fun as hell. It's a top-down shooter with light smatterings of maze-like gameplay, though you'll rarely get lost. You collect money to buy upgrades for your character as the game progresses, gaining more health and better firepower. You can play the whole thing in co-op, which makes it twice as fun. It's also available on Mega Drive and recently Steam. The SNES version isn't great though, so steer clear of that. Oh, and I believe in America this game was called Soldiers of Fortune. 5. Super Frog is a speedy, cleverly designed side-scroller from Team 17, who gamers know from Project X, Worms, Body Blows, Worms, Worms, another version of Worms, this year's Worms, 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 Flockers, Worms and Worms. Like a lot of Amiga platform games, the game is about collecting massive amounts of fruit. It's also about a frog, which is obviously the only important thing here. Anyway, the game is really good. The HD version that came out a bit ago is alright, but not a patch on the original. I recommend giving it a go. Oh, and I've just received word that during this segment another version of Worms has been announced for all platforms. Manic Miner, now you're talking. This game's legendary. No American has ever played it. You're not allowed to. You wouldn't get it. You wouldn't appreciate Miner Willie's perfect jump arc. You probably didn't even snigger when I said Miner Willie. 20 levels. Starts difficult, ends up psychotic. Actually, the last level isn't too bad, but it gets pretty tricky, believe me. It's all about precision. You're timed on each stage, but you usually have enough oxygen to plan a route, though executing it can be difficult, what with the proliferation of collapsing floors and airborne traps impeding your jumps. Collect all the items, then exit. It's that simple. So why can't you do it, you dickhead? It's just so British, from its demented title music to its unusual cast of enemies. Gorgeous, vivid Spectrum graphics too. I never get tired of that look. Unfortunately, I didn't have this game as a child, but that's probably a good thing, as it's so tough that it really would have made me into a Manic Miner. Yoshis New Island for 3DS was released to shrieks of disdain and an explosion of scornful tracts on NeoGAF while I stood brooding in the darkness, my heart swelling with fury at the injustice of it all. Nah, not really, I just played the game and went, man, this is good. Seriously, it's really good. Is it as good as the original Yoshi's Island? Hell no it isn't, almost nothing is. You know how back in the day when slavery was abolished? That was only slightly better than Yoshi's Island. Berlin Wall coming down, actually a little bit worse. Yeah, Yoshi's Island's good. You can't reasonably expect any game to live up to it. Yoshi's New Island doesn't, but it's a lot better than Yoshi's Island DS and far better than most seem to give it credit for. As you may expect from the title, it's a bit like the new Super Mario Bros. Series in that it's a little more simplistic than you might expect, but it's still a full-featured and satisfying mashup of elements from its signature series. The traditional 30 stars, 20 red coins and 5 flowers are still present and ready to collect, but in a nice gesture towards accessibility, you no longer have to get all 3 groups in one go. For example, you could clear a stage with 5 flowers but only 19 red coins, and while you wouldn't get the full clear for that stage, you'd only need to pop back in and get all 20 red coins on your next run. The flowers would stay collected because you already got them. The music comes under a lot of criticism, but I like it a lot. It's laid back, it's easygoing. The aesthetics are soft and fuzzy and nice and cute, much like the gameplay. It works, it fits together, it feels right. It's available as one of the Nintendo Selects, now available from McDonald's. No, that's not true. It's not really available from McDonald's. It's because they do something called Chicken Selects and Nintendo Selects. It's the same word, so I thought that would scan.